Hi, welcome to Strength Reversed. It's Amy. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I have my first quarterly catch-up of 2022. So this is everything I've been up to January, February, and March of this year. I skipped the last quarter of 2021 because I just didn't feel like it. So I'm back starting fresh in 2022, and I have a lot of things on my list. So I will go through in this order. I'll tell you what books I've been reading. I will tell you what I've been up to as far as tarot, what I've been up to as far as spirituality and my physical health, and then some shows, because you know I watch way too much TV. And I have a lot of good recommendations for you, and also a couple that I'm going to roast. And then I'll tell you what's upcoming on my channel if you stick around for that. Okay, so I have several books that I got over Christmas, and I did a review of this one, which is Iconic Tarot Decks, and this is by Sarah Bartlett, and I will link that, of course. Now, this is a beautiful book. I won't go into it too much. Full color, and it is worth a read if you're a collector or you just are interested. Beautiful book. I also got The Secrets of the Waite-Smith Tarot by Katz and Tali Goodwin. Now, I'm not sure if I'm really clicking with this book. I know it's a popular book, but there were a couple of things that just didn't speak to me, but I'm going to give it more of a chance because I've only just begun with that one. And the Rachel Pollack book, The New Tarot Handbook. Now, I love Rachel Pollack. Of course, I've had the book 78 Degrees of Wisdom for years and years, and I find that I can only read that in small chunks, like maybe one or two cards at a time, because it is so dense and full of information that you have to let it percolate. And this one is a little lighter of a read, but still full of information about the symbolism in tarot. I'm enjoying this very much. I also picked up at my local independent bookseller, they have a tarot end cap, and this book, the Tarot Coloring Book by Teresa Reed. If you don't know Teresa Reed, she's the tarot lady, and she has a website. She's also on Instagram, and she's been around for a while, and I really like her. Now, this is a very simple, explains the symbolism, and then you can color your own tarot card, either with the traditional colors or your own colors. I'm not a colorer, and, I'm afraid to start coloring in this book because I'm afraid that I might color a couple of pages and then get bored of coloring. And it's an all or nothing kind of thing for me. I either have to color the whole thing or not even start, and I'm leaning toward not starting, but I am using this as a reference book. It's quick, it's upfront, it's straightforward, and I'm liking that so far. So check out Teresa Reed's. I know she's live on Instagram a lot and does 10-second tarot or 3-second tarot, just like quick informational videos about each card. Now, I have read this novel this year, Nevermore, as in Quoth the Raven, by William Hjortzberg. And I got this out of one of those little lending libraries that is, you leave a book or you take a book. My ex-husband, my son's dad, has someone built one on their street. So when I go to pick up my son or drop him off, sometimes I'll look in the little library, and I've mentioned before how I like those things because it kind of limits my choices and makes it easier. Now, this has been very unique because it is fiction, but the characters are real people. So Houdini is a character, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is a character, and Edgar Allan Poe is a character. And it's at the height of spiritualism. Houdini thinks it's all BS, and Doyle is a diehard spiritualist and likes to go to seances, and also sees Edgar Allan Poe's ghost and communicates with him about the murders that have been happening around town. He's in Doyle is in the US on a speaking tour, I think. And the murders are mimicking Edgar Allan Poe stories. So someone is walled up with a cat. You get the idea. And the author does include notes about the fact that, based on his research, the characters may have some of the qualities that these people possessed in real life, but it is totally fiction. And with my son, I have been reading this young adult novel called The Extraordinary Adventures of Alfred Kropp by Rick Yancy. And we've enjoyed this so much. It is about an unassuming 14-year-old kind of average dorky kid, and he finds himself, he accidentally stole Excalibur without knowing what he was stealing. And it's all about that myth and King Arthur and those legends. And it turns out that he is a knight. He's the last knight in a long lineage of knights and takes an oath for the sword. And it's okay. It's really, really good. And I'm not sure if it's a series, but it should be. I would totally read the next book. So tarot, what I have been up to, just same old, same old. I've been doing a lot of studying with the court cards, and I made a video about the court cards and how I'm trying to gel the elemental associations in my head. So I'm continuing that. I started using the Oriens Animal Oracle, or Oriens, someone told me it's pronounced. It is a beautiful deck that my son got for me for Christmas. And I did a review, so I will link that. And it has all these bright colors and different animals. I love this Emperor card. That's just gorgeous. So I'm pulling a card on most days when I think about it and reading all about that animal and the significance of that card. I think it would be difficult for me to use that deck for a tarot reading, but maybe in conjunction with another deck. And I also was gifted the Dreamkeepers Tarot, and I've been making friends with that deck. I did a video, which I will link, where I walked through this deck side by side with Mystical Moments, because to me they have a similar vibe, and so I compared those decks on camera. Okay. As far as inner work, what I'm focusing on the beginning of this year is, every year I say I want to meditate more, but this year I'm really developing a relationship, a deeper relationship with my spirit guides, and I am interested in connecting where I'm getting information and where I feel that in my body. So that's really what I'm focusing on now. Of course, I'm always trying to meditate more and more, and some days I accomplish that and some days I don't accomplish that, and I try not to beat myself up either way. I have been, I've had this sort of new revelation about my relationship with my job, and I realize that it is my vocation and it's not my passion, and I have to try to stop making it my passion. I'm just never going to be a teacher who's like on Instagram about teacher stuff, or on, having a teacher tube channel. I need a break from teaching at the end of the day, and I can't be that person who gives over my whole life to it, because I don't think that it makes me the best teacher I can be. So I'm trying to change my focus to more on my personal life and less on my job. I still want to do my job well, and I still think it's meaningful and important, but it's not who I am. It just can't fulfill me like that. So that's kind of, even though I've known that intellectually, that has been a new revelation for me. Anyway, I am doing less yoga. Now, I'm a yoga person, and I practice yoga on my own. I don't go to studios or do group classes. To me, it's very personal, and I usually pull a tarot card, and I like to do that practice on my own, almost as a meditation. And yes, for exercise, but I've found myself called to that a little less. I was building up to, really working towards some poses last year, and I'm not really feeling called to do that anymore. My crow pose is like hopeless at this point, but I'm focusing more on roller skating. Now, I roller skated a little bit in the past, and I'm not super good at it, but this spring break, I went roller skating almost every day, and it was fantastic, and I just want to be able to get on roller skates and kind of dance around the roller rink. I've seen videos of people doing that on Instagram, and it looks so fun, and I feel like I really raised my vibration during spring break roller skating, and it brought me a lot of joy, even though I was just trying not to fall down and break my neck. So I'll keep you updated on my roller skating endeavors. Okay, here's what I've been watching in my way too many hours of TV time. First of all, I'm going to admit something to you. Please don't repeat it. I did watch the last season of Sister Wives, because how can I not? How could I look away from that train wreck? I also listened to 3 podcasts where they rip apart each episode, and I listened to those in the car on my way to and from work, or if I'm going for a walk, I'll pop those on, and it's like, I can't wait to hear what they say, and it's my guilty pleasure. Michael and I watched The Girl in the Window Next to the House, across from the house, that whatever the title of that is, and that is on HBO Max. I'm really disappointed that there's going to be another season, I think. It was sort of a cliffhanger, and I don't like cliffhangers, especially at the end of a show that's been suspenseful. I want answers. I don't want more questions. It kind of annoys me. And so sometimes I just don't watch the second season as a rebellion, because I'm annoyed that I didn't get answers. It was entertaining, not at all realistic. It was funny, and I'm wondering why they felt the need to keep going. So I'm disappointed at that. Michael and I just finished Pieces of Her on HBO, and that's with Toni Collette, and I know it's based on a novel. That also was not realistic, but was entertaining, and I'm glad that was just a mini-series. I have loved Toni Collette ever since Muriel's Wedding and The Sixth Sense. I think she's a fantastic actress, and I like almost anything she does. I really hope that was a mini-series and that they're not going to try to make a season 2. I can't stand it when they do that. Sometimes just end it. I want an ending, okay? I love documentaries, and one documentary I watched was called Downfall, The Case Against Boeing, and that is on Netflix. So there have been 2 Boeing 737 major crashes because of a faulty part. I will tell you, I'm kind of into aviation and plane crashes. I watch a couple of aviation channels, and I just find them fascinating. I have no interest in being a pilot or anything like that. It's just something that I find really fascinating to hear about. And one thing that they will talk about on these aviation channels is CRM, which is Crew Resource Management. And that is where everyone in the plane has to feel empowered to speak up when they feel that something is amiss, when they don't feel right about something, and they have to be able to speak up without fear of getting in trouble. And Boeing had a great safety record, and then they kind of merged with McDonnell Douglas, and the McDonnell Douglas culture was very different, and some of that empowerment that employees felt to speak up and say, no, this is not safe and not right, went away, and it caused a very tiny part in the aircraft, caused 2 major crashes, and it was fascinating because I don't remember hearing about this, and the 737 is a pretty common aircraft that a lot of us fly in all the time. Michael and I are watching The Dropout on Hulu, and this is about the Elizabeth Holmes case. Now, I had watched the documentary a couple of years ago called The Inventor: Out for Blood in Silicon Valley, and that was, I think, on HBO or Prime, and found it absolutely fascinating. And The Dropout is based on a podcast by the same name. I haven't listened to the podcast. I can only do a certain amount of podcast, and then I want more, like I want to see something. And I think it's so good. Now, my favorite character is, what is her name? Dr. Phyllis Gardner, who is a real person, of course, and she is a professor and is the one who kind of was on to Elizabeth Holmes and her bullshit immediately and told her so. And I think the real life Dr. Gardner, but also the way Laurie Metcalf portrays her in this show, is like my idol. She is just awesome. The way she tells this girl off. I watched that scene a few times. It was hilarious. So I would recommend that. I watched The Gilded Age. I loved it. I loved their clothes. I loved that old New York. I thought it was fantastic. I couldn't wait for each episode. There is also a podcast for The Gilded Age, and they interview some of the actors and tell you a lot about the history and how they brought this show to life. Now, one thing I didn't like from the podcast, and I listen to podcasts pretty much 100% in my car while I'm driving, the producer of The Gilded Age is the same person who produced Downton Abbey. And I don't know his name. He's a British guy, and it really turned me off how condescending he was and how patronizing he was toward Americans. You know, he talked about Americans just loving Downton Abbey and how Americans just don't even know that this part of their history was a thing and that they have their own kind of Downton Abbey style history. And so I had to like school Americans. And I thought, how about fuck off instead? That's what I thought. Now, we watched Pam and Tommy on Hulu, and if you don't know about that show, it's about Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee and their whole sex tape scandal in the, early 90s and, or maybe late 90s. Now, I was a huge Motley Crue fan. I'm a huge Motley Crue fan. I worshipped Motley Crue in high school. And so I totally remember all of this happening, but you can't make this up. Okay, you can't make up how this person stole the tape. It did kind of fizzle at the end. They just sort of, it's like they got tired of writing, and so they just ended it. But it was entertaining. It was worth a watch. Now, there were two shows that I thought were absolute trash. One of them is And Just Like That. Now, I'm a fan of Sex and the City, and I don't take it more seriously than it is. It's pure fluff, okay? It's, I don't think you can take a show like that and use it as your guide for living. It's just, it is what it is, and you have to understand that no one really can afford those clothes and those shoes, and it's a TV show. The sequel, which they did bill as the sequel to Sex and the City, and then when it was ill-received, tried to blame the audience and say, well, it's a totally different show, I think was just gross. It was just like barf, okay? I'm not mad that they killed off Mr. Big, but I think, I was one of those people who I saw the first episode and I called Michael and was like yelling into the phone like, oh my God, she didn't even call 911. And so then he had to watch it because he had to know what the big deal was. The issue I have with the show is Miranda. I don't think she could be any more preachy and condescending. I don't buy for a second that someone who was a high-powered attorney for 30 years walks into a room and is socially inept. I'm just not buying it. Steve, to hell with Steve. I never liked Steve. I couldn't stand Steve in the original show, and I think he's no better now. I would have lost him at the skid marks, okay? I think he's whiny, and I think he acts like a little boy, and whenever Miranda disagreed with him, he was emotionally manipulative and would tell her she was selfish. I can't stand Steve. Hey, Miranda. I can't take him. And so, bye, Steve. The other show that I thought was absolute trash was Spencer, and this is the, I guess, biopic on Hulu about Princess Di, and Kristen Stewart played Princess Di. Now, I will say that she does a good imitation of Diana, but she cannot act herself out of a paper bag, okay? I'm pretty sure that when a character is sobbing, you're not supposed to laugh out loud. I know that, I think that the people who made this show wanted her to be a sympathetic character. They wanted, I think they were trying to show how awfully they treated Diana, but it really backfired, and you just were left thinking, if she was that whiny and bitched and complained that much about everything, it's no wonder they didn't want to, you know, have anything to do with her. I mean, it just wasn't a sympathetic picture of her. And then the way she, in this show, she kind of used her kids, and I didn't like that either, and I don't really think that probably she did that in real life. So I thought that was a horrible show. Okay, anyway, here's what's coming up on my channel. I am going to be getting together with my friend Maria at Lady Night of Avalon sometime this month, and we have a very interesting conversation that we are going to have about tarot and instant gratification, and there will be more of that to come. And also in June, I will be focusing a lot on the Robin Wood Tarot, my Grand Dame, my favorite deck forever and all time. And I will be with a couple of friends talking about the Robin Wood Tarot. That's with Gerald and Rosemary. So I think that's going to be on Rosemary's channel, but that's not for a while, so stay tuned for details. I'm also going to do a couple of more videos. I have them rattling around in my mind about working with guides. I made a video about working with spirit guides and how to connect with them, and I got some comments, and so it gave me ideas for more videos. One video is going to be, what if I can't picture things, and I can't picture something in my mind's eye. So I will talk about connecting with spirit guides for people who have trouble doing that. And I will also be making a video, I think, about what to do when you're mad at your spirit guides. I don't call them spirit guides, I just call them my guides, but I think a lot of people call them spirit guides, so that's what I'm gonna say. I said what I said. Okay, please like and subscribe or whatever, and watch some of the videos that I will link, and I will see you for the next quarterly catch-up in June. Okay, that'll be exciting, and bye.